The House Oversight Committee is ordering President Trump's Attorney General to answer questions about the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Attorney General Pam Bondi has been subpoenaed amid the controversy of the Justice Department's handling of documents related to the late businessman and sex offender. Correspondent David Spunt has details tonight here in studio. Good evening, David.
Brett, good evening. This story just keeps continuing. The Republican-led House Oversight Committee demanding the Republican Attorney General sit for this deposition. House Oversight Chair James Comer sent the formal subpoena to AG Pam Bondi just hours ago. A spokesperson for Bondi firing back with a statement to Fox News, quote, "This subpoena is completely unnecessary. Lawmakers have been invited to view the unredacted files for themselves at the Department of Justice, and the Attorney General has always made herself available to speak directly with members of Congress."
Hey guys, Adam is speaking. You know that moment in a movie when the guy who's been loyal to the mob boss for decades finally realizes the boss is going to kill him. So he flips? That moment when the music shifts, the camera tightens, and you know everything is about to change? We just had that moment in American politics, and it came from the last place anyone expected, James Comer.
Now, Comer defends the move, noting that in his letter to Bondi, the House Oversight Committee voted several weeks ago to subpoena her for more information on the Justice Department's handling of the Epstein probe. Now, the Epstein case has followed Bondi for more than a year. She came to office in February 2025, and a few weeks later said this.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Now, last July, Brett, the DOJ put out a memo announcing the Epstein case would essentially be closed, writing the systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. Still, lawmakers are not convinced, and members on both sides of the aisle say they have questions for Bondi.
The same James Comer who spent the last 2 years chasing Hunter Biden's laptop and Biden family business deals. The same James Comer who built his entire political brand on being a Trump ally, a MAGA warrior, a guy who would never ever cross the boss. He just crossed the boss, in writing, on official letterhead, with a subpoena attached. And the target? Pam Bondi.
Only for you at 4:30, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has been subpoenaed to testify about her role in the release of the Epstein files. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer wrote in the subpoena cover letter that his panel is investigating the possible mismanagement of the federal government's investigation into Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. A DOJ spokesperson called the subpoena completely unnecessary and did not say whether the Attorney General will comply. The disposition is set for April 14th.
The Attorney General of the United States, Trump's hand-picked protector, the woman who is supposedly in charge of the Justice Department's files, including the ones everyone wants to see. Let me set this up for you because the layers here are deeper than an onion and twice as likely to make you cry. Pam Bondi thought she could play this game differently. She thought if she just kept her head down, stayed quiet, and did what Trump asked, nobody would notice. Nobody would ask too many questions. Nobody would dig too deep.
A spokesperson for the Department of Justice calls the subpoena, quote, unnecessary, claiming lawmakers can review unredacted files, that the Attorney General has remained available to members of Congress. So how will this deposition work? Will it be in public? Will it be similar to the Clintons, a closed-door deposition? What are we expecting how this is going to play out?
Well, every deposition is the same. We meet, as you say, behind closed doors, but there's a transcribed reporter that transcribes everything, as well as we video and audio. So we make those depositions public within hours after the deposition. So for all practical purposes, our depositions are public. Now,
she thought wrong, because James Comer just made it crystal clear that the Epstein scandal is not going away, that the cover-up is not going to be covered up, that even Republicans, even MAGA Republicans, have a line, and that line is dead children. The subpoena landed like a bomb. It wasn't a polite request. It wasn't a, hey, whenever you have time invitation. It was a legal command, backed by the full authority of the House of Representatives, demanding that Pam Bondi show up and answer for her role in what is quickly becoming the biggest political scandal of the century. Let me read you some of what Comer wrote. Because the language matters, the tone matters. The fact that a Republican is writing this to a Trump appointee matters more than anything. The Committee on Oversight and Government Reform is reviewing the possible mismanagement of the federal government's investigation of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, the circumstances and subsequent investigations of Epstein's death, the operation of sex trafficking rings, and the ways for the federal government to effectively combat them, and the ways in which Epstein and Maxwell sought to curry favor and exercise influence to protect their illegal activities and potential violations of ethics rules related to elected officials. Let's pause there, because that last part, potential violations of ethics rules related to elected officials, there's only one elected official whose name keeps coming up in connection with Epstein. Only one president who partied with him, flew on his planes, and then spent years trying to make sure the files stayed sealed. Only one man who appointed an attorney general whose main job seems to be making sure the truth never sees the light of day. His name starts with Trump and ends with a whole lot of questions he doesn't want to answer. Comer goes on to explain that on March 4th, the committee voted to authorize a subpoena. He could have stopped it. He could have used his power as chairman to kill it. He didn't. Instead, he signed it. He ordered Bondi to appear on April 14, 2026, and he made it clear that when she comes, she better bring everything. Books, records, correspondence, memoranda, and documents as may be necessary. Not some documents. Not the documents she feels like sharing. All of them. The ones that might be sitting in a safe somewhere. The ones that might have been accidentally destroyed. The ones that could answer questions people have been asking for decades. Now, why would Comer have to issue a subpoena? Why couldn't Bondi just come voluntarily? Because she didn't want to. Because behind closed doors, after numerous requests, after negotiations and back-channel conversations, Bondi made it clear she had no intention of cooperating. She was peeing in the sandbox, as they say. She was stonewalling. She was hoping the whole thing would just go away. It's not going away. And here's where it gets really interesting, because this isn't Comer's first move against the Trump administration on Epstein. Not by a long shot. Just in the last week, Comer has been out there doing interviews, dropping bombs, making statements that would have gotten anyone else exiled from MAGA forever. He went on Jesse Waters' show, of all places, and basically admitted that the Trump administration covered up the investigation into Epstein's New Mexico ranch. Let that sink in. The New Mexico ranch. The property where victims may be buried, the place that survivors have been begging authorities to search for years. During Trump's first term, when Bill Barr was running the Justice Department, New Mexico officials were told to stand down, to stop searching, to leave that ranch alone. Why? What's out there? What were they afraid of finding? Comer didn't just hint at it. He said it out loud, on Fox News, to Jesse Waters. He said the search should have happened. And it didn't, because the Trump administration stopped it. The wheels are falling off the wagon, folks. When James Comer is throwing the Trump administration under the bus, when he's publicly acknowledging that the Epstein investigation was mismanaged during Trump's first term, when he's subpoenaing Trump's attorney general, something has fundamentally shifted. And it's not just Comer. Remember Marjorie Taylor Greene? The woman who spent years being Trump's most vocal defender? She met with Epstein victims and came away in tears. She's been pushing for transparency. She's been supporting the survivors. She committed what amounts to political suicide in MAGA world by putting victims over party loyalty. Nancy Mace, who agrees with me on almost nothing, did the same thing. She met with survivors. She listened. She tried to help. Even some of the most hardcore MAGA Republicans, the ones who never question Trump, the ones who defend him no matter what, are having trouble with this one. Because covering up for a child sex trafficking ring, protecting the people who abuse children, that's radioactive even in the most loyal circles. There are some things you can't spin, some things you can't explain away, some things that make even the most dedicated supporters stop and think. And here's the thing that Bondi, Kash Patel, and everyone else in the Trump administration seems to be forgetting. The Epstein scandal isn't going away because people won't let it go. The victims won't let it go. The survivors won't let it go. The families of the dead won't let it go. And now, apparently, some Republicans won't let it go either. Full disclosure, and I want to be transparent about this, I represent one of the Epstein victims, Lisa Phillips. A woman who survived that nightmare and has spent years fighting for justice. I've seen what this does to people. I've seen the trauma that never fully heals. And I've seen the frustration of watching powerful people protect each other while victims are left to suffer in silence. So when I tell you that this subpoena matters, that this moment matters, I'm not just talking politics. I'm talking about real people, real lives, real children who were abused while adults looked the other way. The testimony that's already come out is damning. Epstein's accountant testified recently, talked about things that were not great for the scandal, not great for Donald Trump. According to witnesses, there was testimony about a payoff, a Trump victim getting money from an Epstein victim fund, connections that keep circling back to one man. And now Pam Bondi has to answer for it. She has to sit in front of the House Oversight Committee and explain what she knew, when she knew it, and what she did to either expose or hide the truth. But here's my working theory. Here's what I think happens next. Pam Bondi doesn't make it to April 14th. Think about it. Trump has already shown he'll throw anyone under the bus. He's fired people for less. Kristi Noem just got the axe. The chopping block is moving and Bondi's head is on it. The only thing keeping her in that chair is the fact that she knows where the bodies are buried, literally and figuratively. But the more she testifies, the more she appears in public, the more she has to answer questions she doesn't want to answer, the less useful she becomes to Trump. Because every hearing is a risk, every question is a trap, every answer could be the one that cracks everything open. If Bondi is smart, she's already lawyered up. If she's smarter, she's already thinking about her own survival, because Trump will not hesitate to sacrifice her to save himself. He's done it to dozens of people. He'll do it to her, too. The only question is whether she flips first. And that's what makes this Comer subpoena so significant. It's not just about getting Bondi to testify. It's about creating pressure. It's about making her choose between protecting Trump and protecting herself. It's about showing her that the wall is closing in and she needs to decide which side she's on. Because the evidence is mounting, the testimony is piling up, the witnesses are coming forward, and the cover-up, which was always shaky, is starting to crumble. You've got MAGA Republicans freaking out about the Iran war, wondering how this is America first when it looks an awful lot like Israel leading Trump around by the nose. You've got Joe Kent, the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, a hardcore MAGA guy, a friend of Nick Fuentes, resigning because he says there was no imminent threat. The America First coalition is fracturing, and now you've got the Epstein scandal, which was supposed to be something Trump would finally expose, finally solve, finally bring transparency to, turning into the thing that brings him down. Because his supporters thought they were getting truth. They thought they were getting accountability. Instead, they got more cover-ups, more delays, more stonewalling. That's why Comer is turning. That's why Marjorie Taylor Greene is listening to victims. That's why Nancy Mace is pushing for transparency, because even they have limits. Even they can't explain away child trafficking. Even they can't defend protecting predators. The subpoena is just the beginning. April 14th is just a date on the calendar. What happens in that room, under oath, with cameras rolling and the world watching, that's what matters. Will Bondi tell the truth? Will she protect herself? Will she protect Trump? Will she reveal what's in those files, those documents, those records that Comer is demanding? Or will she take the fall, become the scapegoat, let Trump walk away clean while she carries the weight of the cover-up? We'll find out soon enough. But one thing is already clear. The wall is cracking. The loyalty is breaking. And when James Comer, of all people, is the one holding the hammer, you know the foundations are shaking. This isn't over, it's barely beginning, and the next few weeks are going to reveal things that a lot of powerful people have spent a very long time trying to hide.